a cat. And a pretty one, too. Are you afraid of cats?
Is there a dead body hidden behind the wall in the cellar behind the cask of Amontillado? You tattletale. And welcome back to our 366weirdmovies.com channel. I am Penguin Pete. And we're here to review the weirdest of weird movies to find out if they will qualify for our legendary list or are not quite, but almost as legendary apocryphal list. And I might as well put in a plug for these books because we've been putting them out once a year in our Agents Crawl festivals all over the world to bring you the weirdest of weird cinema year by year. So be sure to check those out on Amazon. And we're going to continue in our tradition. I suspect that this movie is one that you won't find very many reviewers touching just for the title alone. But we are at last going to tackle this thing. The title being Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. 1972 film. For purpose of brevity, I'm going to cut it down to Your Vice for the duration of this review, and let's just say we're going to try to find out if there's a weird movie that lives up to that weird title. That title is pretty legendary among giallo movie fans, which is really saying something compared to some of the jawbreakers out there. One alternate title of this film is The Black Cat, which is an Edgar Allan Poe story. It was actually called Eyes of the Black Cat, which makes a lot of sense when you see the movie. Anyway, we have another Eurotrash Poe adaptation. These things grow on trees practically in Europe in the 70s. There were so many horror attempts to try to turn a Poe short story into a whole movie. And the only way you can do that is to add a lot of stuff. And that's what they did. So, anyway, we've also reviewed quite a bit of Poe horror in our movie reviews over the years. So, if you go to 366weirdmovies.com, we have a Poe tag right there. And just go back and check it out. You'll find several reviews that I've done. Here's the whole deal with the Black Cat. It is never explained in the movie exactly what the big deal is with the cat. They just have this cat. This cat. The cat. In every other scene, all the way through the movie. Is it psychic? Is it a demon? We don't know. Okay? It belonged to the mom, and now it seems to be upset about what's going on. And if you've read the Edgar Allan Poe story, like most of us do even in high school, you already know where the Black Cat's role comes up when the bodies start hitting the floor. So, anyway, if you haven't had that explained to you, you get to sit through the whole movie going, oh, look, the cat again. It's annoying. So annoying, even for a diehard cat fan. It almost makes the movie unwatchable just by itself because of all the cat jump scares leaping out of people's heads. Siegfried and Roy should be taming this cat. Your Vice was directed by giallo darling Sergio Martino and stars giallo heartthrob Edwin Finch. Plus top-notch stars Anita Sternberg and Luigi Pistilli. Finch also worked under Martino for All the Colors of the Dark, which I also reviewed at the 366 Weird Movies blog. Look that up if you just as soon read me as watch me. And along with Colors, and this movie came out in the same year, Finch had 6 movies in box offices in 1972, so she was quite a busy bee. As for Your Vice, this film is off the chain, even for a giallo, because it plays less like a murder mystery and more like a condensed Eurosleaze version of Dynasty. In one way, it is typical for a giallo is Sergio Martino's labyrinthine plotting, which is so dense, convoluted, and blocky that you could lose an entire army of minotaurs in a Sergio Martino movie, and they'd never be seen again. It's just hopeless to keep track of. It is completely full of characters that do things that don't really make sense and add up. except that it was just convenient to the plot to have it move along at that point. It's also one of those movies where nobody and nothing is at first as it seems, and there's this constant bait and switch storytelling going on, even for the first few minutes, that is just ridiculous to try to follow, and yet kind of hard to tell what is a spoiler and what isn't throughout the story. So we're going to try to lay out the basic beats for you, and you're on your own, kids. Not that there's that much to spoil. It's a sordid exploitation movie about horrible people doing nasty things to each other, with no good guys to root for at all, except for, maybe I'll get to that. We're going to put in a trigger warning here for violence, sex, abuse, incest, and cat allergies. But if you're a diehard giallo fan, the above description is your patch of catnip, so let's just lay out the beats here. First, meet Oliviero Ravigni, played by Luigi Pistilli, who is supposed to be a failed or has-been writer, but lives in a castle that would be outside of Stephen King's budget. Also, some townies dress him as Professor. Oliviero is quite possibly the most hateable central character you've ever seen in a movie. He spends most of his days beating the chicken feathers out of his wife Irina, played by Anita Sternberg. When he's not, he's throwing decadent parties for the social elite in town to come dance naked at his dining hall, or he's having affairs all over town, or he's violating his own maid. What a prince! Oh, and he owns a stupid cat named Satan.
Hello there, Satan.
Satan the cat belonged to Oliviero's deceased mother, commemorated in this portrait fit for late-night brooding over the obligatory giallo shot of J&B. Oliviero has a mother fixation that would make Anthony Perkins say, "Yo, dude, move on." God help anybody caught wearing his mother's sacred blue dress. Even if Irina wears it, Oliviero punishes her with a brutal rape right in front of that portrait. Now 20 minutes into the movie, and we've had 2 murders already. The first is Oliviero's mistress, who gets snuffed out so fast we barely even meet her. And the second is Oliviero's poor maid, Brenda. Who also tries on the blue dress for no reason we can fathom. And she pays the price for it as the hand that shoots out of the dark to strangle her is not wearing a black glove. We gotta deduct 1 point off the giallo meter for that one, but hey, we brought our J&B bottle to compensate. The cat came back the very next scene, the same black cat. You'd think it was Halloween. The police suspect Oliviero of the other girl's murder, so when Brenda turns up dead, he decides he has to bury this body, even though he's not guilty.
Are you out of your head? They already suspect I killed Faust. It'd be like putting a noose around my neck. They'll say I'm crazy, homicidal maniac. In the cellar. We bury the body in the cellar.
I don't know. Just quote the Raven and go with me on this one. They bury Brenda in the wall, while Oliviero dispatches Irina to clean the blood off the blue dress. I guess he just has to hope none of his lavish dinner party guests ever wander down here to chill with a glass of Amontillado. With everybody dying like flies, that's when Edwidge Fenech shows up. She is Oliviero's niece, Floriana, coming to stay for a visit. You can probably figure out from the way she probes the household that she's here for an ulterior motive, which is going to turn out to be a random MacGuffin.
Oliviero claims that the novel is dead. What's really dead is Oliviero. He hasn't been able to write a single line for 3 years. The only thing he sells nowadays is the household furniture.
Well, you better hold back a couple of wine casks in the basement. Well, Oliviero reacts to her arrival by locking Irina in a closet so he can put the moves on Floriana, and then Floriana rescues Irina, only to seduce her as abruptly as an amnesia victim in bed with a David Lynch movie. I can't show you the details, obviously, but this scene goes on for a while, and trust me, they go very, very Betty by. We're kind of set up for the main plot point thread. There's going to be kind of a triangle between Floriana, Irina, and Oliviero, and they're going to be trying to influence each other. At the same time, each of them probably working with an outside source too, who knows. It's a whole movie full of just intrigues and conspiracies and double crosses and backstabbings, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so from here on out, we're just going to warn you there's no such thing as a minor character in this claustrophobic story. Everybody has a secret co-conspirator. Floriani even takes to dating the delivery boy who happens to also be a motocross racer. Why? Just because Martino wanted a bike race in the middle of the film. Meanwhile, Irina is played as a hysterical housewife whom nobody believes. She's stuck fighting Satan, the cat, in case you forgot, as if that were possible, defending her henhouse. Draw all the psychosexual metaphors you want from there. Floriana dons the cursed blue dress, and Oliviero is so outraged that he flies at her. Oh no, wait, actually he's pretty okay with that for a change.
Take this dress off right now.
You rip it off my shoulders. Strip me down.
So she seduces him, and that scores with both her aunt and her uncle. Guess what? In the history of cinema, we don't see this happen very often, but Floriana just pulled a Dr. Frankenfooter and bisexually seduced both members of the same couple, individually. Only this time, a bit more perverted than Dr. Frankenfooter himself. This time, they're all related. Stick that in your time warp.
Don't you think that my way of making you feel sleepy is far nicer?
From here on out, the movie spins into a fever dream of crazy mantras on a typewriter years before Stanley Kubrick, more cat scares than you can shake a cat at, a random hooker in town getting a doll scare instead of a cat scare, and then murdered. This is not a good movie to go hanging around on top of cliffs, nor casually riding your motorcycle in the mountains. Even if anybody comes out of the sausage grinder alive, they'll just be the one that the cat ends up burying in the sandbox. So, is Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key a weird movie? Meh. Maybe it'll turn out to deserve a spot on the Apocrypha, but I wouldn't bet on it. It is a bonkers story, but try to compare it to, let's say, the psychic bug girl plot of Dario Argento's Phenomena. Because that movie is a mushy maggot pit and a monkey ahead of Your Vice in qualifying for weird movies. While Your Vice is vintage giallo that diehard fans will want a bucket list and very watchable for the fine performances, it's still a tough film to love. There's nobody in this movie to root for until you get down to the three-scene bottle lady.
Ah, the bottles. Look at all the bottles. I'm not against drinking, mind you, good block. I'm the first to enjoy having a triple now and then, but I don't understand how these folks' livers can take the accent.
Bottle Lady, an ode. You were pure of heart, Bottle Lady. You had the best takes. You knew just what to do. And you came out of the story unsmirched, no skeletons in your closet. Congratulations, Bottle Lady.
Hello there, Satan. He's the only intelligent critter around, if you ask me.
Hottest take of the movie. I did like Edwin Spinach as an active role this time, as opposed to her usual damsel in distress role. And Anita Sternberg also turns in a fine job. At first you dismiss Irina as a doormat, but when you finally find out what's going on with her, she's actually more cunning than you expected. Even Bastilli's performance is great, as he plays this miserable bastard in a perfect pitch to make you hate him. In the end, Your Vice at least scores as a guilty pleasure, since that's what this exploitation flick was so obviously designed to be. I can only give it 3.5 J&B bottles out of 5, though. It's just plain not as much fun as a comparable film in the genre. This movie seems very strange for the plot until you back up from a little bit and look at something like The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. That's a weirder giallo of a much more finer vintage. Compared to a lot of other giallo movies, even though it is a wild roller coaster ride of nonsense, Your Vice just ends up looking like something the cat dragged in.